Thank you.
I'm in Portland, Oregon, by the way, in case anybody, I don't know where.
Portland, great.
Yeah.
I'm in Portland, Oregon as well. Wow.
Who's that?
Kendra, I can turn my video on real quick. Hi, I'm in Portland.
Where's Kendra? Wow. I'm looking for you. I'm scanning. Wave your hand. Oh, there you are. Okay. Hi. Hi, Portland. Woo! We're still here.
Okay. And shut.
I don't know why we were on.
Okay, guys. So it's about 2:10 now, and we'll probably still have some stragglers joining us as we get started, but we're going to go ahead and kick things off. So, let's see. Is that? Yeah, okay. All right, so first of all, we just want to welcome everybody to this virtual opening of Tango 360 Degrees. This is Tech's latest exhibition of artworks in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So we are really excited to have you guys all here with us to share this really unique art experience where we're going to spend about an hour visiting with Tech and seeing his new show and chatting about his career in this ever expanding and definition-defying world of urban art. So we're going to be keeping the microphones closed during the initial part of the chat, just to avoid any sound interference. But we'll keep an eye on the chat throughout, like where you can type in questions. So if you guys have anything that comes up, you know, throughout the event, you can just type in your questions there, and we'll keep an eye on them, and we can read them out and have Tech respond. We're also going to be ending the event with some time for you guys to dialogue directly with Tech. So at that point, we're going to be opening microphones to those of you who have questions or comments. And just so you guys know, we'll be recording the event. So if anybody you know wanted to join and couldn't make it, we'll be sending over the link to all of you afterwards so that you can watch it online and share it with whoever you like. So we at Graffiti Mundo are really happy to be hosting this event together with Tech. As all of you know, Graffiti Mundo is an organization dedicated to promoting Argentine urban arts. We started working with local artists in 2009, and since then we've connected thousands of people with this fascinating scene while documenting the cultural and historical context of this really unique movement. We work with many different groups and organizations and institutions, and we run our own art gallery called Union, which is actually where we are today, very happily. And here at the gallery, we exhibit and sell artworks by many amazing urban artists like Tech. So we're going to go ahead and start to show you guys some images. Is everybody seeing the images now? You get a little thumbs up? Okay. So we've been working in really close collaboration with Tech since the very beginning of our project. And we've even started many of our street art tours right in front of the mural covered house that used to be his home here in Buenos Aires. So some of you may recognize that mural covered facade, right? A very familiar place. So Tech was born in Cordoba, Argentina, and he's been living between Argentina and Brazil for many years. He's a founding member of FACE, which is a multidisciplinary art, design, and music collective that was a driving creative force behind a graphic design influenced form of street art here in Buenos Aires. Tech has always been a really experimental artist who has pushed the limits of public and private space. Here in Argentina, it's really common to hear people say, "Las calles son de todos," which means the streets belong to everyone. And one Argentine writer famously even said, "The walls are the printing press of the people." So this is to say, the streets here have always been the main stage for the masses to express themselves. So looking back, it's no surprise that starting in the late 90s and the early 2000s, during a period of really terrible economic, social, and political crisis in Argentina, there was a massive outpouring of protest, graffiti, and muralism in the public space, especially here in the capital city of Buenos Aires. So in this context, Tech and many other artists discovered a unique freedom in the streets. Tech was studying graphic design at the time and developed an avatar, a kind of tag, that he began painting around the city, which was a fish with its head cut off. Together with his collective Face and the Doma collective, Tech began to create large collaborative murals on uncommissioned walls around the city. They even staged massive art events called expression sessions, where dozens of people spontaneously took over public plazas with paint and music to bring a little bit of color and play to their neighborhoods. In other major cities around the world, we don't often see the same kind of open dialogue with the streets that we've seen here in Buenos Aires, because the use of public space has become really strictly regulated and commercialized. But in Buenos Aires at that time, these events and the spirit that characterized them were allowed to flourish and ultimately became a fundamental part of an entire really vibrant movement of street art that's blossomed and become a part of the identity of the city. I can move that out of here now. Okay.
I was trying to set it up like we do regular Zoom.
So we're just going to take just a second because it looks like we've got some microphones open.
La Boca, 2013.
So if you guys just want to make sure you have your mics closed, just so we don't get any interference. So, so Tech has gone on to become a really cutting-edge artist who's working across a wide range of mediums, including murals on walls and on asphalt, studio works and exhibitions, sculpture, installation, and even video art and animation.
I'll get a chair.
The streets, urban culture, and social concerns have constantly informed his work throughout his 20-year career, and technology has been a fundamental influence both in his process and the directions that his work has taken.
Well, thank you so much.
That's the artist, Tech, T-E-C.
That's the artist. So I'm just Leah now. And would you like us to just talk a little bit about your life there in Brazil and
He's the
your
artist.
artwork? Yeah.
Tech.
Yes, I am the artist. Well, thank you, Meli, so much for this introduction. Ceci, you want to say something more about?
No, it's fine. Over to you.
Okay, I just will need to recover the... That's...
Yes, I was admitting a couple of people who just wanted to join. Yeah.
Share some image in a few minutes. Well, thank you for all to being here. And sorry about my English. I'm Argentinian and I'm living in Brazil for 10 years. So when the Portuguese go into my head, I lost the English, the little English I had. So I will make an effort. I hope it, if not, Meli and Ceci will help me, but I will try. Sorry for some words. For sure, I will speak strange. Well, my story in Buenos Aires was, it had a big moment in 2001 because the economic crisis And after that, we get together with a lot of artists, mostly came from the university, from graphic design career. And my collective, FASE and DOMA, is another collective from this university too. We took the streets with power, working a lot, because the situation in the country was a kind of chaos, and we tried to give some happiness from the neighborhood, like how Meli was talking. Was a really experimental time, and we learned a lot. Was super great for everyone to understand how to use the street art and the graffiti in a constructive way, talking with the neighborhood and trying to understand how's the feeling of the street, and trying not to just to put like the political things that was the most we saw in this time, was like literal graffitis, like one was really famous, like que se vayan todos. It's like it's telling like every political go out from the country or from the government, and was like a really I don't know how to say, but it's like a sad way to write. And we choose another way. We say, okay, everyone is sad, the situation is really complicated, so we will try to give something for the children's, or for the society in general, like a colorful happiness, and something totally different that what the country was living in the real. Well, was my school in the street, but 10 years later, yes, 10 years later, wow, the time is passing. I moved to Sao Paulo. I married with a Brazilian girl, Laura. I was invited to Sao Paulo for an important exhibition in the MASP, is the Museum of Art of Sao Paulo. Was a really big exhibition. And so finally, I met Laura, and I based in Sao Paulo. And well, this is like an introduction, but because what we're gonna see now, it's a virtual exhibition. It's something really new for me. But this exhibition had a really mixed ways about what I had from the Buenos Aires street, and how they mix it with Sao Paulo, that it's a really crazy and big city with a really special kind of urbanistic, like it was a city who grows really quickly. So there is no plan on how the city was made. I don't know if someone knows Sao Paulo, but it's really quick to see that when you arrive to the city. It's a 20 million people city. And well, I arrived there with my Argentinian background, and I start to work in Sao Paulo. Now I will show some image from Sao Paulo, just to go into the exhibition. Well, this is where I work and live. This is the center of Sao Paulo. I work and live. I lived in Santa Cecilia, and my studio is in Barra Funda. It's beside. Well, this is my jungle where I live and work nowadays. And this is a drone view about the neighborhood. I'm showing that because at the end I will explain some works that I'm making over the floor. Well, what happened to me in Buenos Aires, we have a characteristic that it's like we used to cover each other's, the graffiti writers used to cover each other's, and that gave a special aesthetic for the walls. You can see part of a design, cover just a part, or you can add something like a circle in the think minding, and you can intervene like the eyes, and was like a big game in the street. And I met a lot of friends just playing with that in the street, like the other collectives. But when I arrived to Sao Paulo, that is totally different. Sao Paulo had something really characteristic from the city. It's called picho. I will show an image about that. Yes, I have it here. It's like a territorial graffiti. You can see the image. Yes. Well, this is the picho. Where what I found in Sao Paulo when I arrived to Sao Paulo, and was like totally crazy. Look how the first thing you think is how they paint that, and they climb, and it's like the guys who paint that came from the outside of the city, from the peripheral part of the city, and they go to the center, and the center is so degraded because they made everything wrong in the center, so the center is occupied, and there is a lot of crack, drugs zones. And when I found that, what was totally incredible to me. But it gave me another problem. You can't cover a picho in Sao Paulo because these guys are so territorial, they are part of gangs, and there is not recommendable to cover one because a lot of these guys has dead painting. They go down from these actions, and sometimes they are dead. So sometimes you see, okay, that's in a really old paint, I can cover it, but probably it's like more an archaeological stuff that you can't cover because probably it's the last picture that the guy made. So you have to be really careful in Sao Paulo to paint over. So when I understood that, was like, okay, but all the walls in Sao Paulo are painted with picho, how I will paint? So that's why I found like another platform that is the floor. I decided to paint the floor. I will try to show one of the first things I paint. Sorry. Well, like this kite. Sao Paulo is a really mountain city, so you have a really big hills, and that gave me the possibility of to paint over the floor, but you can see from the other side of the hill. So this was totally new into the graffiti and street art scene in Sao Paulo. That is a strong scene. So I made this kind of paint, and this is not. Let me show another one. Just to want to show, sorry. I use the perspective and the shadows to paint and make these designs over the floor are really sticked, you know. Have a perspective style to see from the other side in the proportional. I have the problem with this. I can't see the. Well, something happened with my rat. I can show the rat.
Leon, someone is asking around which years all these were painted. So would you say as from 2015, 13?
In 2012, I moved to Sao Paulo in 2012, and I started to paint the floor in the beginning, like between 2012 and 2015 was the time was where I was painting the floor.
There you
And
go, I think right after that, yeah.
in 2015, I took the drone because it was like natural. No, I was painting over the floor. The drone became something easy to buy, and then I add the drone to my work. Well, but this is like I was trying to make like an introduction about what we will see now in the virtual exhibition, and then I will open the microphone to make to answer every question, no problem. So now I will go to the exhibition. It's okay, Mary? Everything is working okay?
Everything's fine, yeah. Yeah.
Well, so here we are in the Tango 360 degrees. Well, the story about this exhibition that we are showing and making a tour today is this exhibition was made to be like a normal exhibition open to the public, but I paint the artworks in the end of last year and in the beginning of this 2020. In February was almost ready, but in March the pandemic was coming, so everything was locked down, and I, like everyone, I passed the first month or 2 months like thinking what to do, how to live, and after that we decide with the people who worked with me to make that virtual exhibition. So we decide to make like a website with a 360 degrees tour, and to add something more like a good catalog, a drone view of the, we fly my studio where the exhibition is set up, and we make a wall text, like a curatorial text, an interview, and we try to make like an experience to make this exhibition more interesting. So now I will make like a quick view about the exhibition, then we will send the link for everyone to see. And well, here we are. This is my studio in Sao Paulo, in Barra Funda. I work here. What we are seeing now, it's like a preview. It's like a preset viewing, but we can stop that and we can go to these points. I try to imagine like where you can stop to see each artwork. So here we are starting like the tour. This, well, I will talk a little about each one. This artwork is called post-urban because it shows like the style I was painting in Argentina, and then what happened with my art in Sao Paulo. You can see a lot of roads and this urbanistic chaos that Sao Paulo influenced me and in my painting. And then the more expression style that I was painting in Argentina, like covering and letting what I felt in the beginning. This piece show, I think, really good this mixing. here we are another piece that it's called like the Jaguar and the War, and it's like well, my style of painting are really influenced from the street and the neighborhoods, but in this case it's like more about the political of the government of Brazilian government with the Amazonia, right? That it's burning all, and it's so sad. And this piece showed that. This piece is called Pomba Gira, and it shows more like, well, you can see here what is happening about the covering. I are like layers and layers covering, but it's a thinked covering. I paint like an expressive way, and then I choose what I found interesting in in this paint, and I'm finding like a shape. In this case, it's a bird. And what I add in this exhibition is like a geometrical style to cut the canvas. Like in this case, this piece is called Night and Day, and this is something new I add in the painting, that it's to separate in with a really strong difference the middle of the canvas. This is something new that I add in this area. Well, and this piece is called Two Lands, and these are really influenced because for the drone view. When I add the drone into my work, I start to see the context really different. I saw my neighborhood, my city from above, so I have a really new vision of the city with the drones, and that appear in this canvas. I see like the river in the middle. It's a head in the back, but it's really crossed for this blue shape, and gave me this aerial view, a zenithal view, that appear in more canvas here. In these ones too, you can see that blue cutting the painting, and that came from for sure from my drone view of the city. Well, then you can do it by yourself for sure to see all the. I just will show my car. It's a Beetle that I paint like 8 years ago, and this is part of my studio too. This is where I make the frames, the wood part. Well, and then in the exhibition I had the catalog. You can see a little introduction about my work. It's in English. And then here you have all the artworks in really high definition to see the details. And well, everything is here in good definition, high definition. Then we have a wall text, that the curatorial text I write it, who Miguel Shaya. It's a really good collector and art curator from Brazil. And the drone view and the Zoom and the live that we made in these last days are online. Well, Ceci, Meli, I'm going well with the script.
Yeah, and the timing is perfect. So is there any work that anyone would like to make any questions, or would you like to show any of the stop animation videos also that
Yes,
inspired some of the work? That would be amazing.
yes. I just want to show
Yeah.
the artworks we were talking in a best definition, because when we made the virtual tour, it's not in the really high definition, because the weight, and if you want to make something that it really works really good, you have to make everything in low definition. So here we have the canvas I was talking in a best definition, right? This is night and day. This is
Really
how
amazing.
more of the Buenos Aires style, when I cover and these kind of faces.
It would be great if you could show them as well. Beyonce, it's a leopard. Yeah, and I think it's a leopard in English, right? And you can actually see it at the top,
Yeah.
left of the.
Here, and we have the tank here, and all these clouds, black and gray clouds, shows the burning, right? In the Amazonas, that's a really big problem that we are having. It's a global problem, right?
Sure, it involves everyone.
And this is post-urban. Well, here you can see it's better. The image is a little better.
And I don't know if anyone has been to São Paulo, but all the times that we've gone over there, the asphalt, I mean, it's like the overwhelming size of the city, I think, is very well represented on that one.
Yes, I paint. This is a big mural I paint in Sao Paulo. That was a point. It's really, I was painting in a really different style, but after 4 years living in Sao Paulo, I made this mural. It's really big, in the center of the city. There is a law in Sao Paulo that it's not, you can't make advertisement in the buildings. So after years and years of advertisement in the big walls, the government take out everything, and that gave to the artist the possibility to have really big murals in the center of the city, right? Well, and now I will show something that really resume what is happening with my art. Like Meli told in the beginning, we try to be experimental every time. So after the drone, I start to make a lot of works in the floor, taking picture from the drone. But then I go ahead and I made a stop motion with drone in my neighborhood. I will show the last video that I made in Sao Paulo. This is a swimming guy, swimming. And it's like 12 frames. I paint, I cover, I paint the second shape, I cover 12 times, and the result is this stop motion made with drone. And it's interesting because to do that, you have to have a, oh, I have to admit people, sorry. You have to have a good relationship with the neighborhood. Everyone want to know you, need to know you, know what you are doing, that you are an artist, and after that you can use the floor of the neighborhood like your own studio. That's incredible, and that's something that really Latin America gave us, because for sure in another, like in United States, Europe, or even Australia, could be really difficult to go out and paint the floor like this. But in Latin America, you can do it mostly more if you have a good relation with the neighborhood. So that work show everything, like my relation with the neighborhood, the technology into the street art, like the drone, and the video, the video, you know? How to do a video with graffiti.
And you really have a lot of amazing stories about how sometimes or the policemen are helping you to stop traffic so that you can just paint on the floor, or even like the neighbors, which you like to, yeah.
Yeah, it happens. It's incredible.
Only in Latin America.
We enjoy it. Well, that was a quick presentation, and Meli?
So we're getting some good questions in the chat. So we're going to start back with a couple that came in earlier. So we had Bill, who is asking, you talked about the gangs and the picho in Sao Paulo, and he was asking, how did the local gangs feel about you painting on the asphalt? Were you accepted? Did they have any issues with that?
Okay. No, they really don't care, because it's not the picho have to. There is something really important, that is that highest you are stronger, right? So that's why they paint over and over and over, and they climb. So something made in the floor is not like so hero, you know. So they don't care about my work really. That was good.
So it's like a language on sort of like a language, like a code in themselves, like picho. It's sort of like the graffiti, but sort of like the Brazilian own adaptation, and has its own rules, and it's all about like the risk, right? Like how the higher you can go, the risky, yeah.
Yes, if there is no risk, it's not interesting for them. So the risk I have is to be passed off by a car, but it's not what they feel when they are climbing into the buildings. So there wasn't a problem to me.
Great. And then we had Greta, who was asking, how do you choose which barrio to paint in?
Well, I in the last years, I really like to paint the neighborhood where I'm living, because the relationships is year by year, I start to take more, I don't know, more conscience about what to do in the neighborhood. So most I know the neighborhood is better to me to paint. So I in the last times, I paint the neighborhoods where I'm living or working. In the case of the hills, I choose the good hills, right? Yeah.
And we also have another good question from Greta, that is, she's wondering about the difference between painting in the streets and painting on canvas. So if these different mediums, if they take you in different artistic directions about what you're going to paint, knowing that one is for public consumption and the other one is for private consumption.
Yes, for sure. There is something really important in both cases, is that the time. When you paint in the street, you have to finish. Probably, we used to paint in 1 day or 2 days. So the time is something really important. When you are in your studio, you have another, I don't know, you can do it and think like, well, tomorrow I can change it, or in a week. So when you paint in the street, the time is something that really I don't find the word, but it's a parameter, you know, like you have to, it's involved. I have to finish it quickly. So that's make a big difference. And the responsibility to do something that everyone will see. When I paint, it's more intimate because I paint the canvas, and if you want to see it, okay. If you want to take it at home, it's a really different relation. It's the street, it's massive, and what I paint in the street, in the studio, it's really intimate.
Although there is sort of like a great story in the canvas that's on the show, El de Cabello Azul,
All right.
that she had just painted a mural on the street, and he went into the studio with all his materials and with a roller, no?
Yeah.
There you go. With this amazing color of blue, and he was very sad just to wash it away. So he was like, okay, so just let me use this blue on a canvas. So he just, you know, he began just to wash the roller on the canvas.
I will try. That's one.
Very here. And that's all the blue that he did not wash away.
Yes, yes, I told you that story, right? But it's yes, sometimes you came from the street because we are always paint, not now, but in the past, it was really normal to was painting the street and coming into my studio. That is something really nice. You came with the material and you have your white canvas waiting. It's really nice to me to have this possibility. And well, this story was like a really nice blue who came from the street, was painting the street. The roll was really charged, and I say, okay, I don't want to throw this ink out. I will put it here, and the shape was like a head, and I used to cover and cover and cover, but this time I let it because the mancha. How do you say mancha?
A splatter of paint, huh? Is it splatter?
So nice, and I let it, and I was like covering the middle, covering, but never again touched the blue.
Yeah, sorry.
So Tech, we had Margaret asking if the video of the swimmer is up on your website.
Yes, no, yes, it's in the website or in Instagram, because nowadays the video are really easier to show in Instagram and YouTube. So, but I think it's in the website. I will check. Sorry.
And just so everybody knows, we will be sending around some additional information to you afterwards, which is going to include a link to Tech's website and the full catalog of artworks, as well as the link to this recording.
Okay. Yes, I don't know if they are, but we will send each link. I think the swimming is not in the website because it's new. But in the website you have a drone issue where they have a more drone works than you can see there and here.
And here we've got some more good questions. We've got Kendra asking about how does the impermanence of the medium of street art influence your approach to your work?
You can repeat, sorry.
So, ya que vos sabes que no va a perdurar la obra en la calle, cómo eso influye en tu obra. The fact that it won't stay around forever in the streets.
No, for me it's really natural. Who start to paint in the street, it's like you always know that from the beginning. So for me, it's something really normal. But in the years, I was something really good for me because make the moment that you go in the street and saw that, it's not like a monument, you know. If you are around You go to Paris and you see the Eiffel Tower, will be ever there. And what we are doing in the street is something ephemeral. You can see, you will see it now, and when you come back to the city, probably it's not anymore. So that make that you probably you pay more attention from this ephemeral works. I saw it like this, like it's like a street artist who are making something in the street will can be now, but later it's not anymore. And the street art have that. So for me, it's something really interesting. And now we have the photography and the websites and everything to, okay, it's not something that you really lose. It's in the street. This is a special moment where when it is it there, but then you can see the photograph. But for me, it's supernatural. It's not a problem with that, really.
Yeah, it seems like it's sort of the rules of the game, and so people who choose to treat to
special too. For me, it's super special because like I'm like a public. When I go to another city and see like street art stuff, I take a picture. I say, okay, probably next time will be not here, right? Nothing officially or made from the government will be like this. Never. If the government make a piece of art in the street, will be made forever. But we are like the graffiti writer or the street artist. Maybe we are making that in another way of thinking.
And then there is an amazing other question that says, Kendra, is what artists have inspired you most throughout your career?
Well, the artist, especially Miró, Joan Miró, the Catalan painter, Basquiat. In general, the paint who are not so virtually, because in my case, I didn't burn with the talent of the artist who can make a figurative work or copy, or it's a chip in the mind that I don't have, and some people have, some really great artists have. But I think that when I saw the Miró and Basquiat work, was like they show me the possibility to be an artist without make and really virtuosity stuff, soy súper agradecido, ¿cómo es?
I'm super grateful.
Yeah, for that, because if I saw Miro, I saw Basquiat, I saw, well, abstract, I like another artist, but that always influenced me a lot, because I saw like, okay, I can do that. I can make a Miro. I was really younger, huh? But it was like a really important thing that I catch from them.
And I'm sorry I skipped another one, and by Lores, and it says, in early work, you had the symbol of the fish with the head cut off. If you could explain the meaning or the message it has behind.
Okay. The catfish is like a logo that I have. And the story about that is, well, in Argentina in the 70s, we have the dictatorship that make a lot of people have to go out from the country. And a lot of people was separated. And was my case. I was 1 year old and I had to really escape from the country because my father was in jail. And we were separated with my family. And then that became in my head, like how we are, sometimes we are cut now. And this pandemic had gave us this feeling again. But when I start to paint the catfish, seems like something from the past that you cut from your other half. And well, we had this in the First and the Second War. Argentina was made by immigrants who came and left his parents and never see them again. So this is a really part of our story in Argentina. In the beginning of the country, because the immigrants, and then for the military dictatorship, who made a lot of Argentines go out, and you can't come. It was impossible to come back to the country, and this is part of my story. It's part of my grandfathers and mothers, and it's part of us. And that's the meaning of this. We are cut in the middle.
Yeah, okay. Amazing one. And then William makes another amazing question that says, in the opening scene to What Will Say Nothing, our documentary, there's a great interaction between you and a couple of local police. And do you remember that scene?
Yes, for sure. Meaning of the film.
And that all the kids were taking a nap. If you can talk a little bit about the relationship in between the police in São Paulo and the street artists.
Well, the police in Brazil is more harder than the Argentine police, for sure. There are military police, and they don't talk a lot. But I find some ways to talk with them. Like, I just paint in the day, never at night. Always with my face clean, not covering, right? And well, it's like, you know, when they come like trying to be natural, and this helped me a lot. For example, when I paint on the floor, I said to the police like that it's a cinematographic paint that go out in 2 or 3 hours. I used to say, like, make a dramatic stuff, like when the police are coming, I talk with the telephone and I say, wait, just a minute. And I saw to some building and say, okay, cut the film. That's why if the police know that you are filming, they probably will be more friendly, right? So there, I have 25 years painting on the street. So I know something that not just to paint, it's sometimes to don't have a big or nasty problem, right? Because I'm Argentine in another country, painting, blah, 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 it's difficult. So I have these tips to paint comfortable. No, it's sometimes didn't work, but mostly work. And sometimes the police help me. They cut the street one time for me, just to finish the work without problem. They cut the traffic because this story about the filming.
Oh my God, the only way. And I think if you are an artist showing your face and painting a mural, it's one thing. Although on the asphalt, if you are just trying to climb and paint like Picho, it's a very different thing. I think.
Yes, and the Picho don't want to talk with the police. It's another attitude. It's a different attitude. I'm painting the street thinking that I'm doing something good for the neighborhood, not something wrong. The Picho want to make something wrong, and they do it so well. The people hate them. I don't want to be hated from the citizens. I want to give a smile from the child, make a surprise. I really believe in the art in the street, in the public art, and I have another feeling when I'm going to the street. I'm going out to the street. I think I'm doing something good, and the police catch this feeling, I think.
Yeah, sure. And Margaret from Oregon is asking, how do you distinguish in between the graffiti and street art in Brazil and in Argentina?
Well, the difference is that we think in Argentina, who are painting the street became from another social part. For example, we were like a generation who paint a lot in the street, and all of us are from universities. In Brazil, the people who took the street to paint are not, probably they don't make the school, or don't, for example, I know Picho writers who don't know how to write, they're analphabet, you know? but they know how to make the name, but they don't know how to write. There are so interested documentaries in internet about that. So this make like the social part of where each generation of street artists came make big difference between the scenes. In Brazil, it's more territorial, it's more vandalic, I think. And but the city have, for example, Sao Paulo are 20 million. So into that you have street artists, you have a graffiti writer, you have people making installation, you have street artists coming from universities, you have people coming from the favelas, that it's the peripheric part of the city. Brazil, it's really big, so it make a big difference too.
So we've got some more great questions coming into the chat, and we promised you guys that you'd have an opportunity to speak directly with the artists. So we can take some time now. If anybody wants to ask Tech a question, feel free to unmute yourself.
Okay.
And you can ask. And then when you're done, if you don't mind, just muting yourself again so the next person can go.
Okay, I will write for everyone in the chat the link, okay?
And in the meantime, there is one last question from Greta. She's asking, how long did it take you to paint the supersized mural on the building? The one of the mummy, I think, or that we call it the mummy. And she says, super intense investment of time and money. How does that work? How do you eat? If it's a gift, yes, for the public.
Well, it took me a month without stop, like a month really, working Saturday and Sundays. It's an independent work because all the mural that was, because this law called Clean City, you can't make advertisement, but until the artists have the money and the sponsor and everything to make big murals in the city, in these big buildings, it takes a time. Nowadays, there are a lot of murals going out, but with sponsorships, with the companies. And I tried this way in the beginning. So I went to a laboratory, I don't know why, and they asked me to use the corporative color, was yellow. I said, fuck, I have to make the biggest mural in my life, and I can't choose the color. So, and I went to another company, and they asked, no, this year we are working with birds. I said, I don't want to paint birds. So I said, okay. I talked with Laura, and I say, okay, let's do it by ourselves. It's a little expensive, but not too much. And we did it totally independent. We rent the wall. We rent it for 2 years. And that's why I say, okay, I will rent the wall, but I will show any sketch for anyone. Because what happened when you start to do buildings like this, you have to go to the the meeting of all the neighborhood of the buildings, you know. This is one of the worst things in the world, I think, you know. For everyone, nobody wants these meetings. Imagine to talk about art with 13, I don't know how many people, everyone say, okay, I want a bear, I want the car, I want this color. I say, okay, I will rent, but I will not show anything. I just will paint. Okay, it was expensive, but was really important to me because I made this mural with a totally freedom. That's when you are an artist, it's not easy. When you want to make big things, it's not easy to be totally free because there is an institution or is a museum or is a political staff involved or blah, 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 you know. And in this case, I spend a lot of money. I sell my car, I remember, in the middle. but just to have the possibility to have a big mural. It's really in the center of the city. The spot is magnificent, but it takes a lot of work and money.
So it will be painted over soon. If you rent it for only 2 years.
It will be covered right now because I'm out of the contract. The contract was 2 years and it passed 5. We were talking to renovate the contract this year, but the pandemic came, and so I think, but could be covered. Probably one day I was walking around in Sao Paulo and will be something covered this mural. Could happen.
So any questions, guys? Feel free to unmute yourself and here we go.
What?
If anyone wants to ask you a question, feel free to. Ah, there you go. That's great.
I want to ask, related to that, who does the, you rent it for 2 years, who does the money go to? To the building consorcio?
Yes.
Okay, so
What
if you stop, no.
No, they pay a lot of taxes, right? So probably with the money of this mural, they don't pay the taxes for 2-3 months, I think. It's not too
Okay.
much. It's not. It's not a whole millionaire things. You know, it's money, but it's a car.
It's a car. So if anybody,
An old car, but it's a car.
but is this usual in any building in São Paulo? That you always have to go to the people who live there, and you have to pay if you want to paint the wall? How about a house, if it's like in the street level and it's a big wall?
Have no problem. We are talking about 20 floors buildings that
Okay.
it's involved. Like I had to open a company because I had to contract a company who make the structure to paint. I have to make an engineer staff with engineers. We had to make an authorization from the government to paint in this size. So it's not an easy stuff. When you paint like until 4 or 5 floors, it's one thing. When you pass that, it involved a lot of things that have to be with the public insurance. Because if I painting so high and something go down, you need something to responsibility of all this work. So I had to make a company to paint this mural. I had to open a company in the Minister of the Companies.
Okay, thank
you. Thank you.
We have another question on the chat as well. Here you go. Which other artists that work on such a huge scale inspire you, both for public art and art sold in galleries?
Well, my colleagues in Buenos Aires, like Franco, Jazz, Ever, Elian in Argentina, and younger than me, but they inspire me a lot because they paint all over the world and really good and big stuff. So in this case, my colleagues inspire me a lot. Blue, the Italian guy, for sure. He show us a new stuff to paint with extensors, without all these things that we were talking about this building, like just with a big extensor. He made big murals in Buenos Aires, for sure. Blue, it's a big inspiration. And my friends, right, my colleagues.
And another question on the chat is if you could just talk about the sketches on the wall behind you. Is it yours or is it the girls? The sketches on the wall behind you.
My daughters. No, my daughter paint, but it's good. It's all over. I don't know what to do with it, so I put it in the walls. I love them.
And have they ever painted on the wall and you had to tell them not to?
No, I can't. I did it, but
you can't.
it's strange to me to do that, right? Can you tell something
Then if you can also just tell us about the name tech.
okay, why tech? Yes.
Yes, I think the choice, yeah, of your name.
Well, it's like I will tell a story. When I was 15, I was painting. I had a rock band, and that's how I started to paint on the street in Buenos Aires in the 90s. Without the internet, the way to promote the rock bands was painting the name on the walls. So I paint my band name all over Buenos Aires, and we made stickers and we put it in the ring of the bus. If mostly here went to Buenos Aires, you see the stylist buses. So we put like stickers, and was like an introduction of street art, was promoting my band. And a father of my friend in the neighborhood know that we were painting graffiti in the street, and he went to New York, and he bring us a really important publication, Subway Art. It's like a registration of Martha Cooper about all what was painted in the trains in the beginning of the graffiti in New York in the 70s and early 80s. So we catch that say, wow, what is this? I can't believe it. So what we do, we no internet. So we took the graffiti of the trains and we try to copy and copy and copy. And I learned the T, the E, and the C was easy to paint, you know, the letter, the bombing letters. So it was like set or tech, not or etc. So I decided for tech was the better one.
It could have been, etc. Then you do have a lovely note from Dijem. Thank you for enriching our world for everybody with your grand public art.
Okay.
And then another question is, why is the show named Tango?
Well,
If you dance tango.
no, I was bad dancing tango. Dancing I think now it's not. I'm not a good dancer really. Well, tango it's like the situation. The tango it's a sad music. Represent where I'm from, Argentina. And when I arrived to Brazil 10 years ago, I was really influenced because the samba music. Brazil is a really musician country. The music is everywhere. It's in the streets. It's really, I love that from Brazil. So I paint in the first years, all my stuff was really influenced because for the Brazilian music, where there is a lot of guitars and all the samba style. I love this. I put it into my paintings, and all the names of the exhibition was around the music, the Brazilian music. When the pandemic came, the Brazilian music are really happy and the tango is more sad. So I decided to continue with the music names, but in this time I put tango because the sad situation that we are living right now. Because the tango have this melancholic and, you know, remember the past, the good past times, and it seemed for me was like something natural, like called tango, because the music and because the situation, the global situation that we are living.
And you can also see in all of your work, like a lot of guitars, for example, and also in one.
I love music. I really love.
One of the works of the current show, there is a work that's called Desafinados.
Yes, because the Desafinados is iconic music from Brazil.
So there is another question on the chat. Okay, no, here you go.
No, that is
making
beauty of sadness doesn't match of for sure. This is what I feel. For sure, it's really nice. Thank you, Greta. Something like
So
this.
if any of you guys have any other questions for the artists, anyone who just wants to open the mic and ask directly, or you can, of course, on the chat as well.
Thank you so much. This is so fun.
Hi, Greta. I like the word. Greta, well, thank you, Greta. Francis, gracias.
So if anybody else has any questions, now's your time. We'll just leave a couple more minutes in case anybody wants to ask anything. Anybody?
Okay, I'll ask something.
Okay.
The kite that you drew on the hill, had you seen something like that before in 3D that inspired you to paint that? It's really outstanding.
Yes, it's happened to me. Well, in here in Brazil, the kite is something really normal, you know, and you see kites in the holidays, school holidays. All the sky are covered from kites, and it was really nice to me to see that. And yes, I saw this stuff like I saw the shadow, sometimes the shadow over a building, the shadow of the kite was incredible to me, and that became to I decided in the first time to make the kite, and then I remember the shadow, and I include the shadow into the kite to make the sensation of flying, right?
The impact that must have on children and people seeing it over time, it must be very profound for them and amazing. It's a great idea.
Thank you. Yeah, yes.
Good job.
The little ones really like the kites for sure. We really think in the childs when I paint in the street, because they are a really great public.
Yeah.
I have a question.
There's
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Tech,
Yes.
when you paint on the street, do you have to use any special kind of paint different from the walls because of the cars, or does it last less time, or anything special because of the fact that there'll always be cars going over it?
Yes. I paint I use different painting. It's a floor paint. Yeah, you have different kind of sometimes I use the normal, but I tried one like the professional, like they use to demark the streets. But it's really expensive, and it's a kind of toxic. So mostly I use a water-based paint, but especially to the floor.
Okay.
It's nothing really different. You can paint a wall with the floor paint. It's a kind of different, but no, it's water-based painting.
Okay, and the good part is you don't have to worry too much of somebody painting on top of that, because not many people want to paint on the floor, right? I mean, it will stay pretty long then, I imagine.
Yes, it depends of the traffic of each road. If you paint a really big avenue, probably it will be out quickly. But if it's a street without movement, it can be like 6 months sometimes, between 3 and 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
And then you can see like what
The lines, it gets a different texture probably.
Yeah.
From the movie.
I sometimes I make the register how it's going degrade. It's cool.
There's another question on the chat. Francis is asking if you see your work as a social commentary. I love that one.
Well, I social, what it means, social commentary? Okay. Yeah, for sure, it's inevitable. I think it's everything. The attitude to paint in the street without permission sometimes it's like it's political. So if it's political, probably it's social. But I'm not so linear, so direct with the social stuff. When I talk about social things or politics, it's more in the indoor works.
There's another question. Yeah. Sorry?
No, I don't know if I catch the social commentary. What is the social commentary?
I think, oh, there's Francis.
You answered my question perfectly. I realize that your work is in part a work of rebellion, and you're clearly saying things about what's happening now. The other thing I wonder is, how much do you miss Buenos Aires?
A lot. I have all my family there.
It's a wonderful city.
Yes, it's a wonderful city. I love Buenos Aires, but the life dropped me here. Brazil is a nice country too.
Right.
I like the summer. And I like the beach, so I miss Buenos Aires, but I think I probably I will miss more Brazil if I'm not living here.
Wow.
So we'll just allow maybe a couple more minutes if anybody has any final questions. I see Bill, you have a question?
Hi, I'm Heather. I'm actually on my husband's Zoom. Can you hear me? Yeah. I wondered, is there a relationship between the street artists and the taggers? So in Melbourne here, we have laneways of street art, and then we have taggers. And is there a relationship between the different forms of street art?
Yeah, for sure. You mean tags? That's kind of quick writes in the walls?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it's like the edge, the edge. Because when I was younger, I make a lot of tags.
Yeah.
And it's like the beginning, you took the spray and you go out, you practice. It's like a training. Like every street artist or graffiti writers probably start making tags. I'm 45 right now. I'm not doing tags anymore. But it's part of my history. When I was talking about my rock band, what was like tags. I think it's like part the graffiti street art. You can really qualify, make each one put in a case. But I think the tags are like the base, and when you go out and you don't have too much to do or paint, you just buy a little spray and you go out and you start to feel this what is to do something painting in the street that is not legal, but it's in the middle. You don't go to jail because a tag. I think that it's like, I think the tags is like the beginning, That's why it's full of this in the cities, because it's like when you are really young, you do that. I know here in Brazil the kids start with 10 years to make tags in the streets. So
in Melbourne, it's illegal to tag, but it's not illegal to do street art. So I think it's an interesting sort of you know, it's an interesting break between the two. So what I've found really interesting is during this time, we're in lockdown here in Melbourne at the moment, and we can walk for an hour, and we live near the river, so we walk under a lot of bridges, and there's a lot of people operating, you know, on the riverbanks under the bridges, and it's sort of quite exciting in some ways to see people in these little out of the way places to start doing their tags.
Mhm.
And it's hard for the police to get down the dirt tracks to the rivers, but yeah, I think it's quite interesting. So that's interesting to hear that you've come from a background of tagging.
Yes.
I wanted to add something because some of you might have heard of Portland in the news for the Black Lives Matter protests that have gone on for almost 70 days. And as a emotional response, a lot of artists have taken to the streets to paint everywhere. They painted, so you have both I call them street art and both the graffiti, because there's a lot of graffiti on public buildings. They're just spray painting letters, BLM, versus people that are really expressing beautiful art, like we've never seen before in this town. So for us, there's a little bit of a difference between graffiti and street art being like more intentional, and tagging just being like your name.
Well,
So.
the tag is like the premature stage of the graffiti, right? The letter graffiti that you are talking about, it's like an you expand the tag and you make these letters. So
Yeah.
they are really in the same line. Yes, there is a big difference between graffiti, street art, muralism, urban art, installations. But the graffiti sometimes don't want to be artists. They really want to. It's another why you are. I think you have to think why you are painting the streets. There are people that are painting the street with another
motives,
tensions,
reasons. Yeah.
If you want.
Yeah, I think it's used interchangeably, street art and graffiti, and I think that's where some of the confusion is, because graffiti has a really bad name sometimes, and street art doesn't.
Yes, and sometimes it's like, you know, two circles that you see in maths, like sometimes are together, are mixed, but in another part are really different. It's difficult to understand graffiti, street art, because we are into the story that is being written right now. So we all of us, we are living in the period who all these things are going somewhere. You know, it's more easy talk about Leonardo da Vinci. You say, okay, Renaissanceism. This is contemporary. This is abstract. But now we are living in the story are being written right now. What is street art? What is graffiti? And because all these questions sometimes don't have answers, because it's happening right now. You know, probably will be easier in 20 or 30 years to talk about what is graffiti and what is street art.
Although I think that's something very interesting of what she's saying is what we have been just discussing and just before the Zoom conference, which is the social thing happening, sort of like if, for example, like the protests of the Black Lives Matter, and what we have been just discussing before, that sort of like fuel and graffiti, and it's sort of like, you know, the egg or the of the social thing going on, and how it affects like, and just whatever is current of the art you are. I don't know if I made myself clear.
Yeah, yeah.
My connection, I lost the connection for a minute, I think. Sorry.
And that she reminded me of our conversation of the importance of the social matter, sometimes exceeding the arts, like, you know, this mural or this graffiti tag, and the political situation or the social situation overcoming whatever, you know, and being much more important than, you know, this mural, this tag, and how all the artists or like the voices in the streets react to that from, you know, where they come from, what they can do about it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's interesting, but this is something that happened in every country, you know. The graffiti is not cool, it's not good, and the street art is more welcome, and it's happening all around the world. And this talk about the global situation, because I heard that in Brazil you are important, right?
Yes.
And I have this conversation in Argentina, in Peru, in Chile, and everywhere. These differences are taking like it's been like, you know, the graffiti is not okay, and they are depredation of the public space. And but in the if you go ahead, you will see that even the street art is not taking probably the permission, are in the same out of law of the graffiti writer. So could be, if you go ahead, probably they will be together again.
Both seem to be a very emotional response to the political environment. And I think a lot of, obviously, street art is like that, but also the graffiti is for the people that can't really express themselves artistically. They need to do something. So the city kind of tolerates it. You know, they let people express themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, it depends where, right? Because it's the public space. If I don't know where the people are painting graffiti in
everywhere.
Everywhere. For example, I don't like when graffiti paint the trains, and this is a situation totally from someone who works and lives in Argentina, who we don't have good trains here, and so when I see the Europeans painting the trains, I say, well, we are crazy. We need trains. For me, the train is I hope sometimes have good trains in Buenos Aires. So for me, it's impossible to depredate a train. It's like to depredate a hospital, you know? But the reality of a guy in the first world is totally different to me, about me. And so it became like the social situation of each one. But it's just an example, right? I like the graffiti, the street art. I think that you have like great places in the city to express yourself. You don't have to be like, you know, to depredate a house who a guy or a woman just paint and you go and paint, you know. But probably there are some places, the backside of the city, it's a good place to train, to make the training that all the how we were talking, the young kids need some place to start. But it depends from the city, from the social situation. It's really interesting. But I think that the story is written right now, you know. We have an answers in the future about what is happening, right? Because it's the private property too, and there is a lot of things that the graffiti touch.
Exactly. It's just sparked this creative bomb. It's incredible. So many people feel like that's the only way they can express themselves through this Black Lives Matter in you know, certain ways. So it's an amazing outlet.
Yeah, for sure.
We just need more kites on our streets.
Yes. Yes, this is the opinion. But even there are people that don't like the kites and tell me like, why you are painting this kite here? So it's you have to understand every vision right now. You have to go to the street doing something really without permission, but with I was learning year by year about the responsibility of painting the street, and to in the beginning I was like, this don't like my work, I don't like him, but I was learning to understand everyone. This is really important to work in the public space.
I
Yeah,
think
I
it's
think that-
interesting
oh,
too,
sorry.
like tech, you know, there's so much more. I don't know about in Brazil, but, you know, in Melbourne, and there's so much more surveillance, which makes it really difficult, I think, for street artists to paint safely. You know, they've got a shorter period of time to paint because of the cameras throughout the city. I think in Melbourne there's something like, you know, I don't know now, but maybe over 1,000.
I saw it because the camera now is everywhere. I thought like this could be really difficult to be a graffiti writer in this time because there is much more cameras around. I don't know, but they always find a way, right? They paint the camera and then paint the. I don't know. We will find somewhere some way. Sure. Well, Giuliani, the guy from New York, when he goes against the graffiti, his thinking was like, if you see a graffiti in the street, that graffiti take like 5 or 10 minutes, the imaginary of the people is like, there is somewhere in the city where you have like 5 or 10 minutes of impunity, you know? That's why Giuliani goes really hard against the graffiti. Wasn't for the graffiti, was for the situation and the sensation of that someone can do something illegally in 10 or 5 minutes. That was the thinking of the guy. It's actually. He said he thought like, okay, if you can make a graffiti, you can make a murder. That's the thinking of Giuliani. Giuliani was right, yeah. In the 90s, I think. Well.
All right. Well, this seems like a good place to leave off for now, guys. We really appreciate everybody participating today, and thank you so much for your questions as well. It's really nice to take advantage of this space to have a dialogue. No?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well,
beautiful. Love this.
You made it was a great meeting. Well, I miss a lot you. Well, thank you everyone to be here. We have a lot of participants, right? Was incredible. So congratulations, because the event was great to me to share all the thinking, show this virtual exhibition for all of you. So thank you so much.
Great. And just so everybody knows, just another reminder that we will be sending a follow-up email with the full catalog of artworks, which are available. So if anybody would like to take one of these gorgeous pieces home, we will send you more information about how to do that. And we'll also send a link to Tech's website where you can check out more photos of his amazing murals and videos of his drone footage of these really cool paintings that he's been doing on the asphalt that he talked about today. And you can also do another virtual tour of the exhibition to check things out in more detail. And yeah, any other questions that you guys may have, just feel free to get in touch with us. And thank you so much again for being part of this event. This is the first time we've done something like this, and it's been really, really cool to see what Tech put together. He's really sort of on the cutting edge with using, you know, drone footage to document both his outdoor artwork and his new exhibition. So thanks for sharing this with us. Take care, everybody, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.